I made $554,000 with one 10-second long Facebook ad, and you could just copy me. And by the way, I did this in 90 days, literally in the last 90 days, as you can see over here, November 17th, 2024 to February 17th, 2025. I was able to spend $171,000 on an individual creative. I'm not even talking about all the other variations of this creative or all the other, uploads of this creative. Just on this one single upload, I was able to spend that amount and do $554,000 back at a 3.24 return on ad spend. Now, this strategy, this 10-second long Facebook ad formula, is something I've never spoke about publicly, personally, or seen anyone else talk about anything remotely similar. This strategy, I'm sure some other people are doing, similar stuff to this, but I don't think this has ever even been labeled. I'm going to pioneer this strategy and take credit for it. So who am I? My name is Ecom Moose, as you can see with the emoji over here. And I run a multi-8-figure portfolio of e-commerce brands, and I have absolutely nothing to sell you. I do this because I actually make my money from e-commerce, so I can do this. And I'm doing this because I want to build a personal brand. I want to get my name out there, make some really cool connections, and really that's about it. I also really just enjoy teaching and talking about some stuff that I can't really speak about with that many people. And I know it gives a lot of people value, so hopefully I continue with that trend. So with that being said, let's actually jump into this framework. So before I tell you about the framework of this 10-second long video ad, I want to actually tell you what this ad didn't have, because I think that's arguably even more interesting than what it did have. So number one, it didn't have one word for the entire ad. Number two, it didn't have any voiceover throughout the entire ad. And number three, it didn't have any music throughout the entire ad. So you're probably wondering to yourself, how the hell could a 10-second long ad not have any of those three things and still be able to spend as much as it did and make as much as it did? And it's a very reasonable question. So good question if you're thinking that. So let me actually break this down. And before I even go into this 6-step formula over here, which, we can call it the show, don't tell formula, or, because I'm pioneering this, putting my stamp on it, the Moose brand all over it, we're going to call it the Moose formula. Okay. So if you ever use this formula and you tell someone about it, call it the Moose formula. But before I even go into that, I want to actually give you just kind of a high level view of what this formula is. So essentially what this does is, instead of using words and copywriting and direct response marketing tactics to persuade someone why they need your product, you're just going to show them why they need your product. So the whole premise of this advertising style is that we're trying to condense everything down into the least amount of time as possible by being able to visually show them exactly how they're going to get from point A to point B through your product. And that's all we're trying to do with this ad. And we're trying to do it in as little time as possible. And if we can get the visuals right, we can do it. So this is all a visual based ad, obviously, because, if we're not going to have any words, we're not going to have any voiceover, we're not going to have any music, then what are we left with? We're left with visuals and, sensory experience. So with that being said, this is a 6-step formula around that. So number one is we're going to show the before shot. So this is, really trying to showcase the problem. That's the first thing. And I'm going to break this all down in much more detail. So bear with me. I'm just going to go over the 6 steps and I'm break it down. Number two is we're going to show the live action shot of your product actually being used. So problem, then live action shot of your product. Number three, you're going to show the after results. So what's the solution of all that? And number four, this is just a blend of these first, 3 points, where you're going to actually add sound effects to enhance the experience. You're going to add audio to this visual experience to, really make it all pop and come to life. Number five is you're going to show an animation to explain what they just witnessed to make everything make sense. And then number six, you're going to just have a very strong call to action to close all this out. Now, let me bring this all to life with an example. So let's say we're selling a wrinkle removal cream. We're going to use that as an example that comes to the top of my head. So this is the first 4 to 5 seconds. This is all one scene. So these first 3 points are all one scene. So let's start with the before shot. So what would this be? This would be the problem. So this would be the wrinkles on someone's face, let's just say. A close-up of these wrinkles. You can see their face. You can see the wrinkles before there. Then the product action shot would be the wrinkle cream going on top of those wrinkles, being rubbed and spread right on top of those wrinkles. and then maybe getting wiped off by a napkin. And then the after results would be those wrinkles completely disappeared. Now, obviously, this is a very extreme visual example. Not everyone's products would be able to do something like that, but I want to just showcase how this would work, because if you guys have a product, like let's say it's a shapewear product, right? And when a girl puts the shapewear on, they suddenly go from being fat to super skinny. That's very visually enticing. That can be very high quality shot. So if you do that same type of formula where you show the before where the belly fat is hanging over the girl's pants, and then you show the shot of her putting this shapewear right on top of it, and now the belly fat is magically disappeared, boom, all of a sudden super skinny. That's going to be very visually appealing. So this can work with a lot of different products. It doesn't work with all products. So I would only recommend using this style of advertising if you do have a product that you can explain all the benefits and how it solves the problems in a very visually appealing way. If not, I wouldn't recommend it. But continuing with this example, so that would be the first 3 points over here. And you'd bring this all to life by adding some ASMR sound effects, right? So the before shot, you could see the wrinkles, no sound effects, but then as they start putting the cream on, you can hear it, getting smeared on, all of, the sound effects that would come along with whatever that would sound like. You'd hear just, it sliding on, getting wiped off, and then see the after results. So, wherever you could add the sound effects, you would do it in that first shot. That whole sequence is only 4 to 5 seconds. And this ad can be 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, however long you need to take it. But let's just say on average, 4 to 5 seconds for that first sequence. And you want to make sure this is a real life shot. I mean, you could do animations, but I think it's better if you do this with a real life shot where people believe what they just saw. So you don't want to make it look extremely fake. I mean, you can over exaggerate it for sure, but it's got to be something that it's a real shot. Like people aren't questioning, is this, AI, is this photoshopped? Is this, completely fake? It should be something that people can believe, but really blow them out of the water of how the hell did that just happen, from your product? And that's that first shot. So now you're visually selling them. This whole sequence, if you were using copywriting, you might need 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes to go through this whole process. But if you have a product that you can visually show it in 4 to 5 seconds, you're condensing down that whole process that might have taken, a few minutes to show and really explain to someone, the before and, the problem aspects that are building up, and then how the product can work as a unique solution and mechanism to get them those results. You're now condensing that down in literally 4 to 5 seconds if you do this right. So that's why this is so powerful. It's not that you're, not going through the whole sales process. It's just you're condensing it down to the bare minimum form of where it could be. So that's the first shot. The second shot is after someone sees that, if you leave them on the edge of is that real? Is it not real? Where it should be, right? Because you're really pushing the outermost edge of what people would believe. Then they're going to be asking themselves, how and why does that work? Now, again, typically, if you're using the copywriting formulas that most people use, especially if you're using VSL ads, then you'd have to go, through a whole scientific explanation, build up the unique mechanism of the product, all that. What we try to do is we try to condense that down just into a very simple 3 to 5 second long animation. So wrinkle cream example, right? We just went through the before, product, and use. Now you see no wrinkles at the after results. How does that all work? So we're going to show an animation of that cream being used on top of the skin. You're going to see it on top of the skin. Then we're going to go to the, inner layers of the skin where we can look at it, from the inside perspective. You'll see the gap of where the wrinkle is. And then you see it just pop up and rise up out of nowhere through as the cream is being applied. And then you see just the smooth skin on top. Hopefully that makes sense of how I'm explaining it. But you're going beneath the skin surface to show all this through the animation. So now you're explaining exactly how what you just visually displayed works all through the animation. And if you do this right, you can do it in 3 to 5 seconds just to explain everything, where now it all makes sense. Now it should be the light bulb moment, snap of a finger. Wow, that's how I just, what I just witnessed is true. I just saw how it works. Now that all logically makes sense for me. That's a unique mechanism. It, snaps to the finger, pops in the head of the customer and okay, that makes sense. And at that point, they're probably ready to click. They just saw something unbelievable. It makes logical sense for them with the animation of how that all worked. And then all you need to do is have a very simple call to action. So if you're sending traffic to an advertorial, it can just be, the learn more type of call to action, click to learn more. And now the advertorial's in perfect position to, just sell them on this incredible thing that they just witnessed, which is how we do it. And if you send it directly to the product page, then just having the discounts, maybe a little bit of scarcity, some risk reversal, all the stuff that you would typically put if it was a direct response ad with copywriting, you can try to condense that down, maybe make the call to action a little bit longer, but that's it. That's the whole formula over here. That's the whole 10-second long ad. And again, this ad individually, one single creative, we're able to spend 171,000. We're doing this on a lot of other ads. This is a formula that we're, using across the board, and I think pioneering and really pushing forward. So, that's really it. I'm going to keep this video super short. If you guys have any questions, comment below, but hopefully this was insightful. And, just one other point, if you're not going to use this as the whole ad, I definitely recommend testing it. But if you don't, try using this just as a hook. Take out the call to action part and just try using this part as a hook. And I'm sure you'll see a major boost. Let's say you're running a VSL, try that as a hook. Let's say you're running a UGC, try this as a hook. You're going to see some crazy performance. So you can thank me later in the comments once this works for you. I want to hear some of your results. And hopefully this was an insightful video. Thanks, guys.